The state took me and my siblings away from my mom when I was 14. Now we live with our grandparents. I don't want to be faced with the limits that my mom faced, and that's why I want to go to college. My grandparents only went to grade school. There was nobody at home that could help me figure out how I could reach my dream.
Applying to college can be very bewildering. There's over 400,000 low-income students every year who graduate qualified to go to a four-year college, and they just don't go. My name is Michael Carter, and I help qualified underserved students apply to, pay for, and stay in college.
Who needs to finish their FAFSA?
We bring college student mentors to high schools to help students through the entire process. How many more apps do you have to do? None? You're done? That's pretty good. It's completely free. Students pick their mentor and they meet weekly until they're accepted into college.
I never really thought of myself as the greatest student. College was not on my mind.
All the anatomy.
Now I'm a sophomore at San Jose State University. My full tuition is covered, and I'm mentoring a high school student. I'm proof that Strive for College works.
Strive, 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 everybody!
Together, we are going to solve this problem. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Carter, and I wanted to share with you all today my personal story of striving to lead, pun intended. One of the things they asked in this talk was to talk about leadership, and in my view, everyone's a leader in some way. Leadership really starts at home, and that certainly was the case with my personal story starting Strive. That's my grandma on her high school graduation. She had a 4.0 GPA in high school, but grew up in East Chicago, Indiana, and had no money to go to college. And so instead, she went to work as a secretary for a book publisher executive. And while she was doing that, she met my grandpa, and they've now been married 65 years. They had my mom together, and yeah, she's pretty cute. Their one dream for her was that she could go on to college to have a better life. And my grandpa was always passed over for job promotions because he's Mexican, and where he was working in a mill, a Mexican could never be a foreman. It was actually stated to him explicitly, you can never be a foreman because you're Mexican. So he really wanted my mom to go to college so she could have a better future. And they worked 2 jobs each and saved up what very little money they had to get my mom to college. And then my mom had to work 2 jobs each during college and graduate in 3 years instead of 4 because she didn't have the money for a 4th. But this, for me, is what leadership is all about at the end of the day. My grandparents are not only my role models and my heroes, but I think they're some of the best leaders I know because they led our family to much greater prosperity than we otherwise would have had. That said, I was lucky to grow up super affluent, and so I used to tell my grandfather when I was little that everybody has an equal opportunity. Grandpa, this is America. And my grandpa called me a menso, which in Spanish means moron. He doesn't mince words. And it wasn't until I transferred from a private to a public high school when I was a junior in high school. It was the first public school I'd ever went to, and it wasn't until then that I realized I really was being a menso, and not everybody had an equal shot. We only had 1 counselor for every 1,000 students at our school, And I had a lot of friends in honors and AP courses who thought they should, or who should have been going to four-year colleges and weren't looking to apply anywhere simply because no one helped them through the process. I know it's weird, but I will readily admit that I'm a total geek, and I loved applying to colleges. I applied to way too many. Someone take a guess. Yell out a number for apps. 24, yes. Pretty bad. Yep, I had a rolling file cabinet at home. My dad was like, that's not my kid. I applied to one college. And so at any rate, as I was reading all the guidebooks, I saw that, financial aid policies were changing, and if you were below a certain income level, if your family was below a certain income level, you could go to some really great schools for free. So I told some friends to apply, and they ended up applying and getting full scholarships, which at the time seemed like a miracle. And I went to college at WashU in St. Louis and came up with this idea to help low-income high school students go to college using us current college students as the mentors, with the whole thought being, who better to help someone than someone who just successfully applied to college themselves. This started out really grassroots, really small. We started with this small high school in Wellston, Missouri, right outside of St. Louis proper. It had been unaccredited by the state and taken over by the state. And so as a result, every student had had the option to flee the district. And so the first year when we started working with juniors, out of the seniors we didn't work with, only 1 out of 30 went to four-year colleges. The next year, out of the juniors we worked with, 24 out of 27 went to four-year college. And I'll never forget the day. One of the most meaningful moments in my life was when the student I was mentoring, when she got into her first college, she called me and she's crying and she said, "Oh, you helped change my life." And I would like to think I'm not super sentimental, but I started crying and was like, I really think I did. This is amazing. And it was just so incredibly emotional. But as you can see, right, this small group we had a very sort of flat organization of 5 college student leaders and then around, 30 college student mentors. And you can see a picture of some of us with some of the students we helped in our first year. It was very small, but we were extremely spirited. And, based on this first success, we got a little cocky. We thought we were like the new Mother Teresa's with this gap we'd bridged. And I quickly, though, couldn't sleep at night because I kept thinking, we help kids apply based on GPAs and test scores they'd earn. How many of the 29 the year before who didn't go had actually earned the right to go, and just nobody helped them fill out a form? And so, again, total geek. So dug through the national data, and Congress's Committee on Higher Ed found there's 400,000 low-income high school seniors every year who graduate qualified to go to four-year colleges, and they either don't go or they go to schools with very bad graduation rates. There's actually hundreds of colleges in this country that graduate less than 10% of their students a year. And the vast majority of kids who go to those schools are on Pell Grants, so they're low-income students. So I wouldn't shut up about this. I just kept talking about it, and so if you were my friend, you either got involved in the cause or you stopped talking to me, and both happened. And so as a result, I had friends who said, hey, I want to do this in my school. How do I form a chapter? I was like, a chapter? That's a really interesting idea. We could actually make this a chapter-based organization and scale across colleges and have different colleges helping different high schools in their area. And so I'll never forget, I went to my dad. It must have been 2008. Country's in a recession. I had interned for a venture capital firm in Google. We thought I was going to do, they thought I was going to do venture capital. My parents did. And I went downstairs on a winter break and said, hey, I'm going to start a national nonprofit, and that's what I'm going to do after college. And he said, yeah, whatever. Go back to your room. And it was one of those moments, though, where I was just so steely and determined, and it was like, I got 1,000 no's before I got a yes for any kind of donation. But I was just so determined that this idea had to be. And so to bring you up to today, this is a picture of one of our national conferences where we bring college student leaders from all across the country together to share best practices. We're now in 14 states, and we've served thousands of students all across the country. And we're really proud of our results. About 95% of our students go to college, and about 40% require no debt when they go, so they have to take out no loans. But really, none of this could be possible without all those folks you see there in that picture, because it's those folks who are leading their college chapters. And really, we're just helping facilitate the process of college students helping high school students. You know, we've seen a lot of success. We've been in a lot of different media sources, Time Magazine, Forbes. Our favorite piece is CNN Heroes, because that actually got us dozens more college student chapters that came to us. And it actually helped pioneer a new model for how to solve this entire problem at scale. And that's by using technology and virtual mentoring. And so what we learned was that in doing this work, there needed to be a technology system that was kind of like eHarmony, but for college admissions instead of dating, where you could help kids figure out where to go based on their stats. So what you see here is UStrive. And UStrive is a social network built around college admissions. So you can see Aloysius, our notional student, is bookmarking different colleges. He's updating what he's doing on his essay. So a whole school community, kids can see what they're doing, what their friends are doing, and they can start to click and learn about colleges based on where their friends are looking. But they can also, if you see, and I guess it would be for you guys, your bottom left-hand corner, the college search tool. So we can actually show a student based on their gender, their ethnicity, their income level. We can show them their likelihood of graduating from a school, their likelihood of getting into the school, and how much they'd have to pay given their income to go. And this is really important because some schools, lots of African Americans may graduate, but no Native Americans graduate, right? And so it's really important to make all this data public. And then through this site, students and mentors can work on their entire applications. We pilot it thanks to CNN Heroes, someone who works for the Albertsons Family Foundation, a family that made a lot of money in supermarkets. She was running at her gym, and she had CNN on, and she saw the piece, and she said, "Hello, can you come scale across the state of Idaho? Thank you." And we were like, okay. So I went out there, and Idaho is very rural. There are schools 10 hours away from colleges. And so our in-person model wouldn't work there. And we said, what can we do here? Because in Idaho, 85% of kids graduate high school with a 2.0 or higher, but only 10% of kids in Idaho will ever graduate college. And 60% of jobs in Idaho by 2020 will require a degree after high school. And so they're in this critical moment where they needed help, and we said, what if we did virtual mentoring using UStrive and Google Hangouts? And so what you see here are college students and high school students working together virtually on the college application process. And I was just in Idaho last week, and what I witnessed there was nothing short of incredible. You saw a town in the middle of nowhere where the average family income is $17,000 a year, and these students were being virtually mentored by college students through the entire application process using Google Hangouts. And they were so grateful for it because no one goes out to visit their school because it's so remote and far away from everything. And so I wanted to share this to kind of take you through my journey of how Strive's growing and how we're looking to scale, but share with you leadership lessons I've learned through this journey. So one of the biggest ones is team. I'm really bad at many, many things. And so what I had to figure out was to be honest about the fact I'm not very good at a lot of things. focus on what I'm good at, and then recruit really wonderful people who were really good at the things I was really terrible at. And one of the things I was terrible at was I was a little tyrant when I was first building Strive. We had deadlines, and if it wasn't met, the person got written up, and it was just awful. It was an awful atmosphere. And this young lady who actually was a college student mentor with us, then she became a chapter director at her college, then she ran a region for us, and then she actually ran all of our programs for us. She said to me, I bet you'd get a lot more done if this was fun. And I was like, that makes sense. And so, we now do things like team retreats to Napa and other fun places. We, once a week have a call with everyone all across the country where we update each other on, our highs and our lows. And it's really become more like a family than a staff. And, it wasn't that I was being mean for the sake of being mean, because I wanted all these goals to be met now, and I was so frustrated that they weren't met. Entrepreneurs, I think, get frustrated a lot, because you see where it should be, but it's not there, and then you're upset. And what this young lady, Odessa, helped me see was that in order to get there, we're all in this together. We're all bought in, but we have to feel like a team, like a family, so that we're all moving in one direction towards our end goal. And so, I was really grateful to her for that lesson. Change, being open to change. A friend of mine told me, Michael, sometimes when everybody says you're wrong, it's because you're wrong. And right, I feel like a lot of times people who start things like to be contrarian, and obviously you think something's new, and so you have this vision you're wedded to. And certainly our mission hasn't changed. But as we move towards virtual mentoring more and more to solve this problem at scale so we can help all 400,000 kids who need help, the simple truth is, right, we've had to pivot and change our in-person mentoring to focusing a lot more on virtual and integrating technology. And so I think a big part of leadership is being open to change, being open to pivot points where you see what your end mission is, but there may be a different way to get there that you've never dreamt of before. That was certainly the case for us. And then Uncle Ben was right in Spider-Man. With great privilege comes great responsibility. Yep, I'm a geek. I like Spider-Man too. And so, I think what that means to me, at least, is if you're running an org or you're managing people, or you have resources because your job makes good money, or you're in college and other kids are not, right? You're in a position of privilege that someone else isn't. And so to help someone else through the process is so important, because really you get tenfold what you give when you help someone else. And I'll share with you that the two students you saw in that video from CNN at the beginning, Jessica, the first student, is now at UC Berkeley studying to be an astrophysicist. And Shauna Brancato, the second student you saw, who was a foster youth, and almost no foster youth even go to college, she's now going to be a rising senior at San Jose State. She got a full ride to San Jose State, and she's a Strive mentor, and she's helping other kids, just like she was helped through the process. And I think that's really important, right, is, if we help someone and they help someone else, this world's going to be a better place. We're going to get to a point, if we all pay it forward, where, a lot of the sadness you see in the world, I think, could at least in large part diminish. But again, to me, this all comes back to the fact that leadership starts at home. So to me, whether you're an entrepreneur, an employee, a mom, a dad, a husband, a wife, a son, a daughter. Everyone's a leader in some way, right? And I think what's so important, and the only reason I'm up here today in front of all of you, feeling extremely privileged and blessed to have been on this Strive journey, is because of these two people right here, my grandpa and grandma. My grandma now has Alzheimer's. My grandpa has a whole host of problems. He's 90, so it does happen. But they still love each other, married 65 years, and that love has endured with the rest of our family. And their leadership in having us seek better opportunities, challenging ourselves in the way they helped my mom go to college, they've been role models for how I want to live my life. And so I just leave you with, no matter what your position is in work, you're a leader in your own family, in your own life, and you have the ability to change the world, starting with the ones who matter to you most, your family, friends, and loved ones. So thanks so much.